Servus and guten Tag. I'm Jan and I think all 3D printers are beautiful, but some need a little more love, like the Creality K1Max. One of the differences between the K1C and the old K1 or K1Max are the smaller pulleys that drive the belts. After I saw on Reddit that the newer K1Max are already delivered with the smaller pulleys, as well as the new unicorn nozzle, I thought about whether it might be possible to simply replace the pulleys on my K1Max. I noticed the thread by Stars Robot Maker on Reddit who has already done this and documented it. So I just ordered new pulleys, 6mm wide, 20 teeth, 5mm bore and fastening via grub screw and followed his instructions. But watch out! Several comments on Reddit indicated that removing pulleys from the motors is harder than you might think. Spoiler, I wasn't able to do it. But more on that later. Advice: watch the video all the way through before doing it yourself. Also important, the device must be rooted to customize the firmware. The best way to do this is to use Kyril's GitHub. Step 1. Remove the side panels and the door. There are a lot of screws to loosen for this. Make sure that the door does not fall off, otherwise you might have to buy a new one. Step 2. Remove the top cover. For this you have to loosen the back plate, as it has to be bent slightly backwards. Then you can remove the upper part of the housing by loosening these 8 screws without getting to the gantry. Step 3. Remove the motors. Before you start, check how tight the belts are, so that you have a feel for how tight you need to tighten them later. Now remove the plugs from the motors. Loosen 3 screws, 2 at the front and 1 at the back in the corner, to release the motors from the frame. Carefully stretch the belts and pull the motors out downwards. Step 4. Here comes the moment to see if you can get the pulleys off. You can try to pull the pulleys off with a stepper pulley remover or a special tool. Make sure that you do not put any force on the motor itself, but only on the pulley and the rod. In my case, neither the printed tool nor the tool was successful. If my brother-in-law, who works in the metalworking industry, hadn't been kind enough to mill off the pulley using a CNC milling machine, I would have had to buy 2 new motors. Step 5. Attach the new pulleys. Okay, this is easy. Place the pulleys on the motor rod so that they fit the belts. You can align them when attaching the motors. Step 6. Mount the cover so that the frame is stable again. Step 7. As the pulleys are now smaller than before, the belts are too long. So open the print head and remove one of the 2 belt holders. The belts have to be tightened 6 or 7 teeth further in. At least that's how it was for me. It is a little tricky to tighten them. Slightly screw in the top screw, insert the bracket and apply a little pressure from the side to turn the bracket into position and tighten it again. Ideally, the tension should now feel the same as before. I would only cut off a piece of belt that's too long after successful testing, if it bothers you at all. Step 8. Reassemble everything. So go backwards through the steps we did before. Step 9. Here comes the point where you need root access and access to a printer config. Edit this is described in the Reddit thread for our X and Y axis. Areas stepper X or Y and TMC stepper X or Y. In the video description I have put what it should look like. Now save the changes, restart the printer and perform an input shaping test. Ideally everything is now fine. You may need to adjust the tension of the belts a little with the adjusting screws and carry out the input shaping test again. After all of this you should have a clear improvement in the print quality. I personally am very happy with it. Oh, and by the way, on AliExpress you can already find conversion kits from Creality, probably from the K2, to get the unicorn nozzle with a new hot end on the K1 and K1C. As soon as I have that in my fingers I'll let you know. I hope I could help you, and you could leave me a like if you're not already done, as well as a subscription. And that, it's me, Jan.